Hi everyone. We're going to continue with the finger picking series. This is part 2. I'm going to do a quick review here before we get started. Number 1 is hand positioning. For the baritone, usually using a strap. I have a strap on when I play my baritone, so that helps quite a bit because the baritone ukulele is pretty well supported when you play, and you don't have to worry too much about the actual support. So that gives you some freedom on where you want to play. If I was strumming, I'm probably strumming more up in this area. I can finger pick here, I can come back to the sound hole, or I can come back all the way back here if I want to get close to the bridge. So we can come all the way there, and again, because of the strap, that allows us to move this hand back and forth. Now, the other thing I want to do is, while we're picking, is to let you know I always anchor. Again, as a review, I use my pinky. And so my pinky is touching the top. Sometimes on the bari, I'll let it lay down, and it kind of lays down. It's hard to see. I don't know if I can get the angle in there, but you can see my pinky's curved. But most of the time, my pinky's up. So, and I'm just touching the top to give my hand support so that my hand's not floating out here trying to pick. It actually is anchored at some point on the ukulele. Now, the other thing we talked about was even sound. So you just want to be able to make a relatively even sound between the thumb, which is playing down, and your index finger and middle finger, which are picking up. You just want a nice even sound with that, okay? So those are the things that you want to do. Hand position, where you want it, you got to decide where you want to put it. I anchor again with the pinky, and then also a nice even sound between the strings. The other thing is we had assigned fingers to strings, and we're going to do the same. The only difference is the thumb is now going to be movable, and we're going to move it around a bit. So your index finger is still assigned to your second string, which is your B string. Your middle finger is still assigned to the E string or the first. They are going to stay. That's how they were in part 1, and that's how they're going to be in part 2. The thumb is now going to move from this third string here, your G, to the fourth, which is the D string. The thumb is going to start moving around. So let's take a look at pattern A, sample A. Now, the 3-string version of sample A went like this. Just a nice cascading finger and thumb feel. Just thumb, index, middle, index, thumb, middle, index, just like that, okay? Now, what we're going to do today, if you notice in the tab, is that the thumb is going to start out on the 4th string. We're going to do the same pattern with the index, middle, back to index. Now the thumb is going to come down here to the G or the 3rd string, and that's going to sound like this. Just like that, okay? So let's try this. We're going to use the metronome again at 100. And again, these are playing 8th notes. So every time you hear a beat, that's actually going to be us playing a string. So let's try this. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3. So the thumb's up on the 4th, and now to the 3rd. Back to the 4th. And to the 3rd. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, and we'll stop right here. Now, if you're finding this extremely difficult, you can slow it down, but please make sure that you have the 3-finger version of this, that you can play that extremely smooth, and you're very comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable with playing on the 3 strings, it's going to be very difficult to start moving the thumb around. So go back to part 1 if needed, or just on your own, slow things down, whatever you do. Make sure you're comfortable playing on those 3 strings before you start adding the thumb. Now, let's take a look at sample B. Sample B, the 3-string version, was this. It was the thumb to the index, thumb to the middle, thumb, like that, okay? Now today what we're going to do, if you notice in the tab, the thumb again is going to start up here on the 4th string. Now we still go to the index. Now the thumb moves down to the 3rd and then to the middle. So the thumb is going to again be going back and forth. Sounds like this. Just like that, okay? Let's try this at 100. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 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 So thumbs up on the 4th to the 3rd, 4th to the 3rd. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. One more time. And 2 and 3, and we'll stop right there, okay? Let's take a look at sample C. Now on sample C, we had started to pluck with our thumb and middle finger on the 1st beat and the 3rd beat. Now this is going to give a strident sound if we try to play this E and the D. So what I'm going to do for today is we're going to play a G chord on this sample C. You can use any chords you want on any of these, but you can usually play open strings on A and B and it sounds fine just to get comfortable with it. But on sample C, we're going to go on and play a G. Again, I've just got my my ring finger here on the 1st string, 3rd fret. Just a regular open G chord, and that's going to sound nicer. So again, here's the 3-string version. And now we're going to go to the 4 where the thumb is moving back and forth. It's pluck to the 3rd there, back to the 4th. So every time we pluck, thumb is up on the 4th string. Just like that. Okay, let's try that at 100. So here we go. And again, these are 8th notes. I'm playing a G, open G chord here. And here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Thumbs up on the top and back on the top. So it's going between the 3rd and 4th string. Every time you pluck, thumbs up on the top there on the 4th. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and we'll stop right there. And again, this is the same as the others. If you find this difficult to do, make sure you can play the 3-string version. Make sure you're very comfortable with that before you start moving your thumb around, okay? So take some time. Again, if you need to slow things down, slow them down. Go back and do a review of part 1 to make sure that you're comfortable with the 3-string versions of these samples before you get your thumb rotating here between the 3rd and the 4th string. And then slowly pick up the speed. And the next thing we'll do is I'm going to pick a couple of songs that we can play, and we'll actually use these patterns on songs so you can kind of get an idea of how they work. Enjoy!